I believe in you, Kratom.
Thank you.
Our first player in the top right of Oxide, he is the blue Protoss player representing Dragon Phoenix Gaming. I mean, he's the best, right? It is Zest. Twitter fangirls go wild.
And his opponent in the bottom left-hand side in the red, representing the US of A. He is Alpha X's Astrea.
Max Angel, a name that fits in porn. Probably can't say that. Okay, so one thing before we get back into where we're going, I want to talk about this matchup because this one really fascinates me because Astrea's PvP is absurd. He has an incredible PvP win rate. Zest is very known for early game shenanigans and things like that PvP often revolves around. So this is an interesting matchup for me. The most interesting thing is I think about who these guys practice with. Zest has SOS and stats and all of these top Protoss players on the Korean server, but Astrea has Canning Kratom, which means he's getting better practice here. And I think Astrea could be considered to be quite, I don't want to say a favorite, but even in this matchup.
You know, they just you know that Canning is disallowed from being at IEM Katowice, right?
Yeah,
like there's some Latin American tournaments that are like it's open to all Latin American players except for Special, Cham, and Kellisher, because you guys are just gonna wipe the floor with everybody else. It's the same thing with IEM Katowice where they don't let Canning play because it would just be unfair to everyone.
He got so many points, he reverted back to having not enough points. He like went to the end of the scale and then went back. You know, like when you have 100,000 or points on your like on your mileometer. That's not what they're called in your car, and then it goes back to zero. That's what
odometer.
Yeah, that's the one. Mileometer. Yeah.
And it's usually 999,000.
Yeah. That's how many points
you usually got to get to 1,000,000 miles.
That's how many points Canning got.
That's insane. That's absolutely insane. So Zest gets off the cybernetics core block, which is nice, continuing to delay Astrea's tech. And one thing that's been nice this game is both players have had fairly similar builds so far, getting their gas at the same time. Astrea needs to undersaturate that gas. There we go, just a little bit. But so far, identical builds with Zealots and then Stalkers coming out on both sides. Astrea's aggression on the other side has been checked just a little bit by Zest getting this Zealot in, and Zealot will take out 2 probes before his Adept sneaks in also. So far, this has been a really great game for Zest, who's been able to pick off 3, make it 4 probes of Astrea's, and if he gets a 5th here, this would be insane. Oh, barely gets picked off there, but look at this. Zest has also used this opportunity to snuck in a probe in the north side, and if we see some pylon shenanigans this game, we're not. He found it. Never mind.
I like what Zest has done. Zest has been hyper aggressive so far just to eke out what could be a small lead, but the Nexus isn't down for either player just yet. In terms of cybernetic scores, they're both getting beat up pretty hard. They should go down probably at similar times. Maybe Zest gets to cancel a bit quicker and get his Nexus down a few seconds earlier. Maybe not, though, because he doesn't have that Zealot offering constant, quicker DPS here. My God, if that cybernetic score was 1 pixel over to the right, he could have placed the Nexus anyway. So Cybercore will finish 150 minerals to massively delay the CC works out, and it is Astrea who gets his Nexus first. So when all is said and done, Astrea's Nexus that bit quicker, but Zest's Twilight Council and Blink already done. And this is Zest. This isn't just going to be, you know, 1 gate Blink into a 3rd with a Robo and slow playing. He's already got 2 gateways up. I wouldn't be surprised to see a 3rd come up soon, so he can be very, very aggressive. Stalker's here in a little bit of trouble for Astrea. Needs to get Micro them back. He's actually going to end up losing one here because he was a little slow to react to that. And Zest at the bottom side already has a pylon going up Kratom. He is definitely looking to start being a nuisance. This will be that 3rd gateway I spoke about coming in, I imagine. I can't imagine it being anything else here. And we're going to see a whole bunch of aggression coming in here from the Korean Protoss player.
Yeah, I really don't like Astrea's position right now, Grant. He's at a very, very fraught spot in the game. It's going to be quite difficult for him to come back, I think, after this initial aggression from Zest, as you said. Now, Astrea finally scouted the Twilight Council. He had actually not seen it until then. And Zest, of course, has seen the Twilight Council of Astrea, I believe. Oh, no, he's not. Never mind. Zest has not seen the Twilight Council of Astrea. But at this point, when you see that many Stalkers out on the map that early, it's a fairly safe assumption that your opponent is going to be going for those stalkers and likely blink behind it. Zest's blink is going to be finished earlier. His gateway is going to be finished earlier. And even though economically he's slightly behind here, Grant, Astrea is not going to have enough meat on his bones. He's not going to have sizz in his zazz. He's not going to have enough chunk in his army to really defend against a blinkable Zest stalker army right now. And I'm very, very concerned for Astrea's position. With only one shield battery here at the natural nexus, he could be in oodles of trouble.
Yeah, here comes a blink. Super battery needs to come out. He doesn't have the energy, I don't think, on either nexus. Having a quick look. No, he doesn't. That means no super battery, and GG Zest picking up a quick game of 1.
Grant, that was a textbook build order win from Zest, able to sneak in his Twilight Council and Blink just a little bit earlier. We see a lot in PvP, builds being decided on the fly. I'm sure you know as much as anybody else does that sometimes you go into the game plan and you've got to change things up. It looked like Zest had gone in with the game plan of early expansion, just like Astrea had. But the fact that Astrea allowed his cybernetics core block to finish at Zest's natural location slowed Zest down enough where he said, you know what, I've got these minerals. I'm going to transition into Blink Stalkers instead and hit with a slightly earlier timing push and get that third gateway out on the map for reinforcements if I need. That was a really simple win from Zest, and Astrea should be ashamed of himself.
I don't know about that one. I don't think he should be ashamed. We now move over to the NA server as well. So Astrea's ping going to be that bit better in the next game or two. And we're going to be moving into that next map pretty soon. We do just need to all move over server, all the observers and foreign language casters as well. It was a difficult one. The Adept getting a couple of kills wasn't ideal. It did mean Astrea had to remake workers.
5 kills.
Yeah. The aggression of Zest was very, very like janky. It wasn't super standard to just send one unit, then another unit, then another unit in PvP. You know, usually you wait for 2 Adepts or something like that. So there was no possibility for Astrea to wall off and deal with that. He just didn't expect it to come. And then when he finally saw there were 12 stalkers at his front door, he just didn't have time to build up enough energy to get a super battery out and to survive what was coming. If he had survived, he'd been in a great spot. But that's so often how PvP goes. It is, you need to survive. If you survive, you win. If you're the aggressor, you kill or you lose. Generally, sometimes, you can do enough damage to move onwards. But I don't expect we're going to be seeing many 10-minute games from these two. It's just not their style. Astrea plays very much like a Korean Protoss. He is aggressive generally. He can play the late game, and so can Zest, don't get me wrong. Zest may be known to be a little bit less macro-oriented when his macro, 1,000 minerals isn't an uncommon amount of minerals for Zest to have in the bank when he's not maxed. But his micro is otherworldly, and that's what we saw in game 1.
Yeah, important to note there, Zest had 10 stalkers, which is just enough to 2-shot a shield battery, even on overcharge. Yeah. And with the amount of stalkers that he had more than Astrea, he would have been able to take down an overcharged shield battery as well. Yeah. And Astrea wasn't building any additional shield battery. So even after he spotted the massive number of stalkers moving across the map with that zealot that got taken down earlier, he didn't begin any additional shield batteries, which again, I think is another slight mistake that Astrea made. So I'm really hoping in game number 2 that both players are on top of their game. Of course, Astrea lives in the United States, and I think he lives on the West Coast. I might be wrong about that.
I haven't got bloody clue. I don't even know which one the West Coast is.
It's the fun one with like San Francisco and Portland and stuff.
Wait, no.
Yeah, the East Coast is the boring one with like New York and Boston.
No, that's the cold one. I don't like that one.
I love that we're ignoring that. Like, obviously, the East Coast has Florida and South Carolina and stuff too. Like
gator people, right? Yeah.
Anyway, Astrea, it is quite early. It's 8 o'clock in the morning for me here, which I know if you're, it always feels disingenuous when I'm like, well, it's quite early for Astrea, 8 a.m. for him possibly, and everybody who's at work right now is like,
he plays video
I'm at work
games.
at 8 a.m.
I woke up an hour ago.
Yeah, professional video game players generally adhere to a much later schedule. So Astrea's sleep may be a little disrupted. I would expect that he's been adjusting his sleep schedule in anticipation of this event so we can put on the best show he can, getting the Z's a little bit earlier. But obviously, everything matters here. As Day 9 taught us all those years ago, if you're playing StarCraft and your chair is an inch too high, that can mess you up completely. Yeah. So you got to be aware of all these little factors going in. Hopefully Astrea puts on a better show for us on Romanticide LE, Grant.
Yeah, we're moving into that one now as I find my very talented observer's camera, move my cursor. Our first player in the top left representing Alpha X. He is the North American Protoss player in the red, Matt's Angel. It's Astrea.
His opponent in the bottom right-hand side, one of the wild cards in today's event, and everyone is wondering which version of this player is going to show up today. So far, we've had the good one from Dragon Phoenix Gaming, DPG, Zest. Now, Grant, so far, each group that we've had, groups A and B that have finished up till we're halfway through the group stage as of yesterday. Each group that's finished up, group A and B, has the same results nationality-wise. One foreigner makes it out, and 2 Koreans make it out. So far, we've got 4 Koreans into the bracket stages: TY, Maru, Dark, and Innovation.
Jeez.
2 foreigners as well, Clem and Cyril. No surprises. I expect today that 1 foreigner is going to make a hell of a big run. Of course, Spaghetti Boy, Rainer, in this group.
Baby. Do you want? Okay.
It's a big dream for this group.
Talking about dreams, that was such a good segue, and I know what you did there, Creighton. I told Creighton earlier today, and I've had a conversation with Raynor today. I had a dream about Raynor last night. As we get into this PvP, everything is very normal. Double gateways on the high ground here on Romanticide. And I don't often have dreams because usually I take sleeping medication, but I've stopped. Doesn't matter. I had a dream that me and Raynor were in my old house that I grew up in, and we were trying to decide what to eat, and he goes, "I want a roast dinner." And I go, "Okay, an English roast dinner, roast chicken or lamb."
Because Rainer the Italian definitely knows what a
dinner.
roast dinner is. He definitely knows what a roast dinner is, for sure.
It's his favourite. So we go, "Okay, we'll go and get one." And I was like, "My mum could cook one." And he goes, no, let's go get one, which I understand. Sorry, mum. She's not watching.
Wants to hit the spoons. I get it.
Yeah. So we go, and Reynor's like, "I'll drive, but I don't have a driver's license." I'm like, "No worries. I mean, I do, but we let him drive. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it."
What could go wrong?
Precisely. He crashes the car immediately. He's going way too fast. And then it turns out that he's actually only 12 years old, which is about true. And the police go looking for him, and he runs away. And that was my dream about Raynor. So this PvP, in terms of unit openings here, double stalkers for both, which is very middle of the road. It's not double adept, Astrea getting to see those units will be happy. Astrea going for the Stargate. We have a much quicker nexus here from Zest, actually. So Astrea going to get to be the aggressor early on. Both players getting... just Zest adding on double sentry as his follow-up. He's going to see everything. He's going to be very, very, very safe in this game here on the NA server. And we get to see how this goes if it goes a bit longer.
If it does go a bit longer, it could be another quite short game, Grant. Double stalker, double sentry is often an indicator of early aggression as well. Getting those sentries out early allows them to build up a ton of energy, not just for scouting with those scouting Phoenix that usually send straight across the map, but also for the Guardian Shields later in the game if you're going for some sort of aggression. The natural's down at normal times for both players, but to me, this Twilight Council from Zest says that he wants to play a strong early to mid game, and with the stalkers already out on the map, this Oracle from Astrea has a tall order, Grant. It's got to get all the way across the map, hope that Zest is in the wrong place, hope that it doesn't get scouted, and hope that Zest doesn't pull his probes or have a shield battery in his main mineralizer, which so far he doesn't. But it's a lot of qualities that Zest has to have or not have for this to actually work.
Yeah, the good news for Astrea is the Oracle kind of forces Zest to sit back a little bit. And that's going to allow Astrea to macro up even pretty well. He's getting Robo. He's moving up in his tech choices. He'll follow up with a Twilight Council before too long. He's going to be behind him Blink and things like that. But I wouldn't be surprised to see a Forge going down pretty soon from Astrea too. The main thing right now is he can't lose this Oracle too early. Even getting one worker there, very nice. Now he needs to make sure the Oracle lives. It does look like he's going to be able to do so. Revelation offering a lot. Frustrating with your first Oracle to have to revelate. You'd rather be looking for stasis wards or things like that. He doesn't want to lose this. It's such an important unit. Oh, 1 hit point in a dream, baby. 2 hit points.
Literally 2 hit points. That's insane. Well, unfortunately, this scouting Phoenix is like, if only I were such a real boy. Like that would be great. Poor thing. So multiple sentries out from both sides, queuing up a little bit. I do want to correct one thing you said earlier, Grant, which I think most of us probably would have done in this situation, is go Robo directly into Twilight, which is very, very common. That's a follow-up you see often from Stargate, but it does look like Astrea has skipped the Twilight Council in favor of cranking out Immortals. This is a really interesting build that I've seen crop up more and more in both the European and the Korean scenes just in the past couple weeks, where you skip the Twilight Council, screw charge Zealots until the end of the game when they really start to show their worth, you know, when you get up to like +3 armored charge zealots and just crank out Immortal. It has a dual effect of being really good on the defense against Blink Stalkers, because Immortals do a fair amount of damage. They make an attractive target, if nothing else, for these Blink Stalkers as well. But they also put out a massive amount of damage. So we're going to have to see what Astrea can do here. But Zest already incurring into the third base. Looks like he's going to set up for a bit of a fight.
Yeah, there's only one Immortal here right now. The second one about 2/3 of the way done. And that was cute by Zest. He used one Stalker to trigger the hardened shields. But with a battery here, I imagine throughout the next side, there may be enough energy. It's looking actually a little bit sketchy. This Oracle is going to have to defend against the double Adepts that have come in. It hasn't got any energy. Okay, yes, it does just have enough. It does look like Astrea is going to defend this, losing 3, 4, maybe 5 workers. Isn't the end of the world. His third was quicker, so he will be able to catch up. And if he can kill a couple of units, a sentry or 2 would be nice. He's going to get that Adept too. 6 workers, not ideal. He does have his Forge done, so he can start +1 quicker as well. Astrea holds on. He's up in supply, in army supply, and his army is higher tech. You know, he's already got 2 Immortals. He's got a good amount of sentries compared to none. He still has that Oracle, which is going to offer a threat across the map and hit those big revelations. Good observer as well. He sees everything. Boom.
Very nice stasis trap there at the top. That's a blunder by Zest. And again, I don't want to demean these players' confidence or talent, because they are, again, they're at IEM Katowice. They are the best players in the world, but that's a mistake Zest knew better than to make. He knew the Oracle was on the map very early. He should have seen that it was very low on energy, because it wasn't able to attack his Adepts earlier. It got a couple shots off and then wasn't able to finish them off. So he should have suspected there's some energy being used, and he hadn't seen a revelation yet. So bit of a blunder by Zest there. He will blink out and only lose 1 Stalker, but he loses a bit of momentum, more importantly. I think Zest still in pretty good control of this game. The 10 kills earlier, allowing his income to spike considerably, and Astrea desperately chronoing out probes to catch up. And I think Astrea knows he's a little bit behind right now, Grant. As +1 and Blink comes out, he's adding on a Dark Shrine with the hope to go catch Zest, cutting some corners on the other side of the map.
Yeah, a Dark Shrine is cool here. Usually you see a Dark Shrine come in 8, 9, 10 minutes into a PvP, and they get Blink, and they start being used for run-bys as alongside Zealots and things like that, and being used as the counter-pressure unit. Now, Zest has a Robo, but it is quite late, and he's going straight for a Prism because he's Zest. He is going to be very, very aggressive. You know it. You can count on it. And I like that Astrea is going to try and turn the corner a little bit here. He didn't build... Oh, he does have a Prism of his own. Fantastic. So he does have a Prism as well. So he can go out with this Prism and try and counter-attack whilst he defends. And I think that's probably the name of the game here for Astrea. He's already getting DT Blink. That Shadow Stride here, great. And I love it. +1 is quicker for Astrea. Although he is now actually up in workers considerably. And I've got, actually, the longer this goes on, the more I like this for Astrea. Like, what is the army right now? There's 14 Zealots with charge is a little bit scary because there aren't any Archons here for Astrea. That's a little disconcerting. Seeing these quick Zealots now, Astrea does know what he's playing against. He is going to throw down a pylon for his 4th base very quickly too. Zest already throwing his down. DTs maybe needed to defend here. We're seeing a couple warped in, and I think they were defensive as well. Stalker going to run up to see if there was a stasis ward on the ramp. There is not. And now we see that big push coming in from Zest. Difficult ramp to push up, though.
It is very nice force field there from Astrea, blocking those units out very briefly, but with the aggressive blinks forward here from Zest and just the overall army supply advantage that he's got. The army value about 500 more minerals than Astrea has. The shield battery overcharge will help just a little bit, and actually with that shield battery overcharge, Zest not focus firing it down. Astrea's going to stay alive for a little bit longer, but Grant, the Archons and Zealots are still here. The DT doing a little bit of damage, but the Observer for Zest will catch up very quickly. Meanwhile, we do see a little bit of damage here. DTs in the natural, and of course the damage at the third base as well. So Zest losing a lot back home.
Yeah, this is exactly what Astrea wanted. Look at the supply right now. Up 30 supply. Killing 17 probes. He's up 25 workers right now created. And Shadow Stride is about to finish as well. So his DTs can get on top of Archons, can get on top of Stalkers. Those very frustrating units. I mean, the third has been decimated. And Astrea only lost like 4 or 5 probes during that exchange. We do see a few units going to be warped in here to finally deal with this very pesky Dark Templar. It will go down in an absolute mauling. But Astrea now ahead in this matchup. That's what he needed. And his PvP, the longer the game goes, seems to be looking that little bit crisper. He's getting his second Robo and his Robotics Bay. And we're going to see some Disruptors. We're going to see lots of blinking units, be they Stalkers or Dark Templars. And this is going to be so much fun.
Really nice play there by Astrea, Grant. He won the battle on both fronts, right? Able to defend at his third base, surprisingly able to defend at his third base. I think Zest made a few tactical errors there, not focus firing down the shield, the overcharged shield battery right away, getting bumped behind by his Archons just a little bit, zoned out, body blocked by his own units. And then, of course, Astrea winning the fight on the other side of the map. And this is all a function of Zest's Robo being a little bit later, Grant. He's only got those 2 observers on the map. He doesn't have that much detection, so those DTs able to do an awful lot more. And look at this, Zest still being a bit of a blockhead about this. Just now adding on photon cannons at his natural. Still no photon cannons at his 4th base. Still no photon cannons in his main. Grant, Zest is the height of hubris right now as he goes for an attack on Astrea's 12 o'clock base.
Yeah, but he's never going to get that to work. There's too many Stalkers and DTs here, and that's a lot of DPS. One thing we need to point out, Clayton, is the upgrades. Astrea's +3 is a quarter, or let's say a fifth of the way done. Zest hasn't started +2. Upgrades in PvP are probably the most important research that you cannot forget. You can't let fall behind because you're going to be using very similar units. And your Stalkers and things we can see already doing a lot of damage here. They're only going to get stronger. Astrea is going to scale into this game phenomenally. He's getting a good chunk of disruptors. His 3rd and 4th already on the way. He has a prism down at the southwest as well. We do see Zest going to try and hit the 2 places at once, but it looks like Astrea is pretty prepared. Look at this. This disruptor can just fire off the shot if it needs to. And here we go. Forces to blink away. Not too bad.
Yeah, good defenses so far by Astrea. I like that he's got his army chunked out just a little bit. Some army at the 12 o'clock, some army at the 3rd. Disruptors ready to go at a moment's notice as they pop out of those double robo. He's going to lose 1 disruptor here. Nice blinks by Zest to protect his own army. And now Zest's army is actually going to come together and merge into one large battalion with this pressure now between the 3rd and the natural. This is a place where Zest has a real opportunity to get some damage done, Grant. With his army all together and Zest slightly distracted by those zealots, he's bought himself a beautiful position in between Astrea's 2 bases.
Yeah, Astrea is reacting to this very, very slowly. He's a little bit worried about taking the head-on fight. He needs to see that he is up in upgrades, and I think maybe wait for +3. That's 2 big purification navas right there, killing the Archons. But look how many workers are going down for Astrea. That being said, he is still up nearly 20 workers created. He can afford to throw some away. He's got double the supply of his opponent. There's no way right now.
This game is over. Zest, like I said, found a really nice position, but what I didn't say was that, of course, Astrea was able to defend fairly easily with those disruptors. Got some great disruptor shots, exactly what he needed to drive Zest back, and able to do tons of damage on the other side. Now, of course, as you said, Astrea lost 29 probes there, but Creighton, you're saying, surely that's great damage. Remember that Astrea had 80 probes to about 40 when that fight started. So GG, and Astrea is going to even the odds here, Grant, and we're going to see a game 3.
Yeah, I mean, I said it as this series started. This was going to be one that could be very interesting. Astrea has this incredible PvP hotkeys. I'm reading rain or typing right now. PvP win rate. And he's able to show it there against Zest. He has to survive the early game. That is definitely, in my opinion, the name of the game here, because Zest is going to be aggressive. It's what he does best. He's just absolutely, he hits these anti-timings and these in-between moments where you feel safe and then all of a sudden you're not. But now we move into a map 3 and we're still on the NA server. So Astrea's ping still going to be very decent. We're on Australia. Okay. So we're sort of in the middle here. But Astrea looking very, very good. His micro was good. The DT saved the game at one point. He really needed them. If there was an observer with the army, then Zest probably killed him. But Astrea, very, very calm, collected, held, and then just pulled so far ahead.
Here, Grant, hang on. We're on the Australia server, so I'm going to make some adjustments to my overlay.
Oh, for God's sake.
If we're going to cast on Australia, Grant, I want to be prepared to cast on Australia. I know that Maynard and Pig have been casting from this position for the entire tournament, so I figure I'd join them in solidarity here. Pillars of Gold, as you said, game number 3. This is actually a really cool map. The more I see Pillars of Gold, the more I like it. I know it's been in the rotation for a while now, and I know our current map pool is a little bit stagnant. They all feel a bit samey. as you Brits would say. But Pillars of Gold remains a really solid map. That third base on Pillars of Gold is a stroke of genius. The space that it has, the triangle third base I'm talking about, that space it has for the attack on the north side, the space it has for the attack on the east side, the line of sight blockers that make that high ground valuable to hold but difficult to fight against. Like it's a phenomenally constructed map, and a mad shout out, of course, to everyone who made Pillars of Gold possible. Who's the author of Pillars of Gold?
Yes.
Oh gosh, I can't remember. Whoever wrote Pillars of Gold, I'm sorry, I should know who it is. Agaton or Ziggurat of Ur or somebody that I've forgotten. Anyway, exciting to see this game on Pillars of Gold. Going to be a really nice third game. And as you said, Grant, I think Astrea's key here is to avoid the early game, to defend the early game. And we saw that a bit last game, actually, where he went for the quick robo, skipped the Twilight Council altogether, and went for the Immortals to make sure he had enough beef on the ground to stop Zest from getting in.
For those of you just joining right now, you may be wondering why the bloody hell are Grant and Creighton upside down. That is because this map is going to take place on the Australian servers, and we just wanted to fit in. Creighton somehow drinking water upside down. Never understood how people can do that.
It's magic.
Yeah. We are just waiting to get
if the Australians can learn how to do it, Grant, if the criminals and scum over in Australia can learn how to do it, then surely any of us can.
Okay, we are just having a small issue here in terms of people getting into the lobby, so we will be getting started soon. A quick recap of what happened in the series so far. Map 1, Zest just went across with like 2 units and just killed too many workers and pulled ahead. Map 2, Astrea was able to hang on and then use Dark Templars to do huge economic damage and take the victory. Update from the other streams, Raynor currently leading 1-0 over Dream. The 10-0 Dream is alive here for the Italian. And we're getting into it now, Creighton. Map 3, Pillars of Gold, Astrea versus Zest. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, I can't wait. I absolutely can't wait.
Okay. We're in. Let's do this. Our first player in the bottom left of Pillars of Gold LE. He is the red Protoss player representing Alpha X, the North American Max Angel. It's Astrea.
And his opponent in the top right-hand side in the blue, representing Dragon Phoenix Gaming, and one of 3 South Koreans in our event today. He is Zest.
And he's best.
So we should probably talk about these players a little bit, Grant, because we haven't talked about the players for too much time at all. And I want to start with Zest, who's at a really interesting spot right now. Zest has just let us know a couple months ago that he cannot delay his military service anymore. For those of you who don't know, South Korean men have mandatory military service, one of the few countries remaining in the world that do. And so sometime between the ages of like 23 and I think 28 is about the latest you can delay it to. You have to go serve 18 months in the military. And Zest let us know that his time has come. He can't delay it any further. So this may very well be Zest's last premier tournament for quite some time, Grant. I talked to Gemini a little bit last night, and he said Zest is quite keyed up to do a great job in this tournament because he knows it may be one of his last opportunities to do so.
I mean, the other thing to say about Zest is recently in online tournaments, he has been doing incredible. In things like the Korean weeklies and Oli Moly's tournaments, he's always consistently either winning or coming top 2 or 4, and it really feels like he has some momentum behind him. PvP also, one of the matches I think he's better at. I think he struggles in PvT if he can't kill his opponent early. PvZ he's always been very good at, but PvP I've always felt is one of Zest's best matchups. And there's a lot of Protoss in this group. Trap is here as well as Astrea and himself, so he does have a couple of PvPs, but he should be coming to this expecting to beat Astrea. This is one of the matchups, if you want to get through for Zest, he probably does need to win, because Trap is arguably the best player in the world right now. Oh, that's a very early Stargate.
Quick update from chat, though, Grant. Apparently, Big Gabe has defeated Trap in game number 1.
Hey,
currently
Gemini,
leading the series 1-0.
10-0 where?
Oh, jeez, come on now. That'll be an interesting series, but yeah, very surprising to see that Trap, if in fact true. Let me. Big if true. Let me check Liquipedia here, and wow, Liquipedia confirming Hero Marine up 1-0 against Trap. So already this group full of surprises, Grant. As you said, Astrea with that very early Stargate, and Zest trying to be a little bit sneaky here with a pylon in the main, but it looks like Astrea not frightened at all, not responding to it.
No, he's going to send one zealot up. There's really no risk here. Warp Gate is still a good 30-40 seconds away from completing, and he knows that. Both players did block. Zest managed to get his wall up, his Nexus up even quicker. As we can see, Astrea still not put his down. He's going for a very fast Oracle. The problem with this is Zest like straight up knows. The Stargate was put right in the face of Zest proxy, so Zest scouted everything. This is so bad. This could be game ending. I mean, the Oracle gets out, one Stalker gets out. Doesn't Oracle? Okay, there's a battery. This is fine. It needs to probably save the pylon. He's actually splitting his fire right now. But as soon as the Stalker comes out with the oh, there's a Zealot here too. I didn't see him.
Yeah, the Zealot's working on the gateway, which is really interesting. Bit of a missed focused fire here from Zest. I'm not really sure what he was trying to accomplish. It looked like his priorities rotating a little bit throughout as he was attacking various structures in Astrea's wall at the natural here. Going for a first pylon, switching to the gateway, going for the second pylon, then the shield battery finished. Just a very confusing attack here from Zest, and Astrea's going to be able to defend very well. The good news is Zest able to snipe down one of the Stalkers, and of course delaying this Oracle, Grant, which is great because it saves Zest the problem of warping in Stalkers back home to try and defend.
Yeah, he got a battery early on as well. Astrea probably knew that was going to happen because he knew his Stargate was scouted.
Right.
So he has waited for 2. 2 is, of course, the magic number if there is a shield battery, because you can just go in and one-shot the probe line before the battery can charge them, as long as you make sure your shots are all lined up nicely. You also have stasis wards as a possibility. Astrea, though, he is already moving out of this. He's getting that Robo again. We saw him do this in map 2, go Stargate into Robo, and he won. I don't think Zest will fall for Dark Templar again. We are going to see the Oracles now come in. They're going to get a good few kills. Very nice micro here by the North American. He is going to lose one Oracle. Doesn't really want to be doing that this early. But 4 workers isn't bad. Astrea is now 4 workers ahead. He, of course, still has the 1 Oracle alive. He can be relatively happy with this, considering he was completely scouted.
Yeah, I don't know about completely happy. 4 is not the best number of kills off of 2 Oracles, especially if you lose one. But as you said, 1 Oracle is just enough for revelations into the late game. So as long as Astrea doesn't get overly aggressive with this one, he's going to be just fine. He's got to pop in and see that. Yeah, he can't even think about getting into the natural there. We see Forges going down, Grant, and if there's ever an example that both players expect this game to go into the mid game, a Forge is a pretty good idea. Last game, Astrea was up with his upgrades about 3-1, I believe, by the end of the game. Yeah. And I'd be surprised if Zest let that happen again. I don't want to talk down about these players a little bit, but we have seen both Zest and Astrea making some significant mistakes in games 1 and 2. So I'm afraid that Zest completely forgetting his upgrades there. A bit of a rookie move, Grant. Bit of a rookie move.
Zest is moving out with a whole bunch of Stalkers. He's currently got 10 on the field to only 3, actually, of his opponent. There is Grant. A stasis ward here. This stasis ward could be the savior. It is absolutely... Oh, Zest knows. And now Zest moving in. There's an Immortal here, completely undefended. It may well go down. Super Battery needs to come out, and it does very well timed here. The Immortal alongside the rest of the unit should now be able to push this back. Zest is going to find a bit of damage. He's going to blink in, actually. This is so ballsy from Zest, but what is there left for Astrea right now, Creighton?
Yeah, this is one of the dangers, as we talked about earlier, of going for that that Stargate into Robo build. He's going to be able to defend, but losing that singular Immortal, never, ever a good series, Grant. Never, ever a good look, Grant.
No.
He's now got to work on getting another Immortal out. It's almost done, but 1 by 1, Immortals are not that scary against Blink Stalkers, Grant. It's very easy to blunk on top of an Immortal, surround it, prevent it from moving around at all, and just kind of grab the Immortals down 1 by 1, and you always get good trades there. Even 2, maybe 3 Stalkers for an Immortal still feels real good here for Zest, who finds himself in a decent spot. But Astrea's macro is something we should point out, Grant. 49 probes to the 42 of Zest.
Yeah, in terms of upgrades as well, he is a little behind. He's now getting his blink, though, and the Immortal count is going to be way ahead. It's going to be like 1 billion to 0. Zest, as well, walled himself in because he saw Adept get some early Adepts. And that means that he has to break down the wall before he can put down his 3rd base. Astrea hasn't gone for a 3rd yet. Both players sort of going a little later than we saw in map 2 here. This Observer getting a good scout for everything. That's going to be very important for Astrea. He will lose it eventually as the Observer tries to catch up here. But seeing everything, seeing all the extra gateways coming down, he now knows what he's playing against. He will continue Immortal production almost certainly after a Prism. He's getting that Dark Shrine again. My question is, Does Zest get fooled twice?
I'd ask former American President George W. Bush about that. He would say, "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, you won't get fooled again."
I honestly thought you were going to come up with this eloquent George Bush quote then, and I was like, I didn't know they existed.
That's literally a George Bush quote, Grant.
Is it actually?
He literally said that.
Oh,
and the reason is, I don't want to waste too much time from StarCraft, but most people think the reason he's going to say, because of course the quote is, "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me."
Ooh,
nice,
that's a big
nice,
pickup.
Zest.
Yeah.
And most people said he realized halfway through the quote that if he said "shame on me," that was going to be the soundbite for the rest of his presidency.
Yes.
So he had to think on his feet and adjust. Anyway, this is very good for Zest here, sniping the Warp Prism for Astrea, going up the north side. Warp Prism of his own, and Grant, this is the Zest that we know and we are afraid of. The Zest who has learned from Creator how strong Blink Stalkers can be. I'm honestly a little surprised to see Zest going back home to try and defend and protect himself, as opposed to going for that really strong push that I think he wanted to hit here in the main base.
Yeah, we can see there is a proxy pylon that hasn't actually been dealt with yet, and it is warping in two invisible swipey boys. They're going to make their way into the natural, and guess what, Creighton? There's nothing here. They're going to split up, one into natural, one into the third. How is this happening again? There is an observer on the way. No, target the workers, Astrea. Observer actually chasing the other observer. Workers falling very, very quickly here. So many are going to go down once again. Zest, this should not have happened, and now it's up to Astrea to defend.
Yeah, Astrea's got to protect his bottom third base as well. Look at him preemptively pulling those probes off to the left-hand side. He is going to distract the army just a little bit here. And, ooh, Zest missing an opportunity with a couple force fields just a little bit behind the 8-ball there, going where the puck is, not where the puck is going to be. And Astrea is going to be able to save most of his army, including both of his immortals that are still alive. Those ISBs in the natural and the main have been cleaned up. Luckily, the observer... Astrea's observer's still there. What the hell? Zest observer in the top corner of the map. He just recalled a freaking observer. That's insane. But unfortunately, these probing boys are going to get spotted. And this is the real victory here, Grant. 17 free probes that have now just evened up the game yet again. Astrea sees a second income lead disappearing.
Yeah, this is what Zest needed to stay into this game. Now, Astrea is still up in workers. His third base did survive for now. He is getting charged. And Creighton, take a look at the upgrades again. This is ridiculous. Zest hasn't started +2 2 games in a row, and Astrea's +2 is 30 seconds less, or maybe even less from completing. And if that completes, Astrea's gonna trade better because all Zest has is Zealots and Stalkers and a couple of Archons.
Classic Zest bank as well. Look at that, 1,000 minerals in the bank just before I noted it. Grant, there's no other way to look at it. It's a mistake. It's a mistake from Zest, and it's one that, and look, you can make mistakes in pro StarCraft. Everybody does. StarCraft is an impossible game to play perfectly, and that's like the exact draw of the game, is you can't play it perfectly. You can just play it as best as you can, but IEM Katowice is not the place to be making these mistakes, forgetting your upgrades, or even skipping them to get 2 extra stalkers out. I mean, come on, Zest. A big mistake here, and I think Astrea still very solidly in this game, Grant. As +3 starts, his Archon count begins to grow. And I did want to point out earlier in some of these fights, Zest has been doing a really poor job at the end of fights with army and retreat management, which in PvP are so difficult to do. You've got to make sure that your opponent is not picking off your trailing sentries, your trailing stalkers, and Zest has lost just too many of those here as Astrea sets up for another little push.
Zest, the situation is actually going almost all in. He's not been making any workers for a considerable amount of time, and he only has 28. The Immortals, though, in the back are standing so strong. The battery gets closer to completing. Creighton, Olsen, Astrea has pushed Zest back, and it looks like Astrea is going to pick up the first series if he can just finish off these final units. Zest has no workers.
Absolutely glorious there from Astrea. Zest took some time to focus fire down that shield battery and pays the price. Astrea, ladies and gentlemen.